I'm gonna pin I'm gonna pin myself real quick and then oh my goodness. What is this? Zoom decided to update itself all on me right as I was trying to join. And so I'm like trying to learn its new little techniques that it's got, and it's just throwing me off. Let's see. No, I don't want to chat.
It seems like anytime we take a break, Zoom decides.
It changes up on us, and I like to see everybody. And so usually I can just make it to, wait, there it is. They moved it a little bit. There we go. Okay, now I can see everybody. Okay, so hi guys, my name is Gillian. And like Miss Katie said, I'm the ASL teacher for this class. Just a little bit of information. I know Miss Katie sent out a little blurb about me, but I just kind of like to say a few more things. One being I do teach at the Alabama School for the Deaf. And so with that being said, like she was saying earlier, there are always going to be signs that I'm not going to know. It's the same thing. I always like to think about it with English. I don't know every English word there is. So I'm not going to know every ASL word there is as well, or how to express the sign, anything like that. So if there is ever a sign you ask me and I do not know, I do have coworkers who are deaf who I ask all the time, hey, what's the sign for this? Or how would you explain this? I love learning new things as I am also trying to help with others. So with that being said, if you ask me something and I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'll have to look it up, that's totally normal, I guess I was trying to say. So please feel free to ask me and don't feel like discouraged, oh, she doesn't know this. No, I promise we will learn it. I always love learning new. Like for banking, for example, there was one word I was like, how would I describe this? And so I asked one of my coworkers and they were explaining, they're like, there's a couple different ways. And it was really interesting to see how she explained it to me. So it's always fun to learn new stuff. A couple of things. One, so I always like to fair warn everybody, and Katie has told me before that you guys can't hear them. I have two dogs. I have a black lab and a little Jack Russell Terrier mix who loves to bark. They both love to bark. So sometimes if you see me looking like that, it's because my dogs are probably making sounds. I typically hear them bark very loud and I'm like trying to shush them. But apparently you guys can't hear them. I constantly will say I can hear them. I think you guys can hear them, but then I find out no, y'all can't. So just like to always say that if you do end up hearing a bark, that is probably from me. Also, tonight's class is going to be light per se, but this is a very content heavy class. Okay, just a fair warning. I like to tell everybody. With that being said, we just do a lot of words and we've been trying to we have a list and then we'll add a few more. We'll take off a few more. We kind of go back and forth with our little bit of our list. It's always changing. I don't think it's always ever the exact rigid dun, 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 dun. There's always things to add. So with that, I like to always ask people if you have any signs you guys are curious of for different topics. And you guys are, again, more than welcome to put them in the chat. If you think of anything after class or when it's when we don't have class, you, again, are more than welcome to email Miss Katie. She will either put it on the list or let me know, and then we can try to figure out a way to communicate it a different way if we need to. So with that being said, I also talk very fast. If you need me to slow down, please tell me. I do the same thing in ASL, and I tell people all the time, tell me to slow down. I will. So, okay, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to show you guys is the alphabet. And, sorry, my dog was playing, and she has little petter nails, and they were just scraping. I did not know what's going on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you the sign is for the alphabet. So we're going to start with our A. So for A, you're going to use your hand. You're going to kind of rest it like a fist with your thumb on the side. And with this, normally it does not matter if it's left or right, either way works. I'm left-handed, so I always am on my left side, but left and right, there's very few differences in how you will hold the handshake. Okay, then we have B. So B is going to be 4 fingers together with your thumb across. Then we have C. C is like we've known all the time, our little C. Then for D, you're going to have your pointer finger, and you're going to kind of make a circle with your other fingers, but you're going to have your pointer finger pointing up, D. Sometimes when we do the ASL class, I will tilt mine a little bit. That's just to help you guys see it. Typically, you hold it more kind of this forward way, D. Then we have E. E is going to be 4 fingers kind of bent, and you don't want to be touching your thumb, but you're resting right above it. Okay, let's go back through those 5 real quick. So we had A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, now for F, what you're going to do is you're going to have your pointer finger and your thumb touch together in circle with your other free finger sticking up. F. Then for G, you're gonna make like almost like you're doing like this, a tiny little pinch, and you're gonna turn it forward. G. Okay. Then we have H. H is gonna be two fingers the same way as the G. And you can leave your thumb up or closed either way. Honestly, I think mine changes. It's something you don't really see. Like I move it, well, when I stick it up, you can see it. But I'm like, I'll move it back and forth and it doesn't make a big difference. So if you don't have your thumb sticking out or you have it closed, either way is fine. Then we have I, which is going to be your pinky. And then J. So J's, you're going to make a J motion. J. So fun fact with the J real quick. When I learned it in high school with my ASL teacher there, I learned that there was very specific ways you have to do it. Whereas if a left-handed person does it, the J has to go in, right-handed person has to go out. And I was very strict about it with myself. I was like, I have to make sure I sign this correctly. Well, then when I got into teaching and I was working with students and they would just keep doing this J motion, it didn't matter if they're left-handed or right-handed, they make that. And I was like, no, you're supposed to have a specific way to do it. And I talked to my coworkers about it because I was like, guys, like what's going on? And they're like, no, it doesn't really, it's not a big deal. We just kind of let it either way. So I always kind of feel like not bad, but I always think about like our first few classes when we did this class because I was insistent you got to do it this way. And then finding out later that, okay, maybe it's not the biggest deal and it's not going to be the end of the world. I was like, okay. So that's why I always like to tell people you can do it, that motion, the J going in. If you do see someone sticking it out, that is also still a J. I just like to give that information to people because I was very insistent of this for a while. Okay, let's do K and then we'll go back through those. So K can be a little bit tricky. So like bear with me on the like how I describe it because it's always kind of a weird one to do. So you're going to start out with your number 2. Your middle finger is going to come a little bit forward. And then you're going to stick your thumb between the 2. Okay. Now this one I do say can also, if it feels uncomfortable, it means you're probably you're doing it right. The reason I say that is because our fingers, if you're not used to signing as often or moving them in that shape, it can feel very like not painful, but uncomfortable at first. And with practice, it gets a little bit more comfortable and better. So if that one feels weird, that's why. Your hands are not used to moving in that weird shape. So, okay, let's go back. We ended with E, so let's go to our F. We had F. Then we had G. H. I. J. And then K. K. Okay. Now let's go to our next one, which is L. L is another simple one. It's one we probably all have done. L. Now, for M, what you're going to do is you're going to have your 3 fingers. You're going to bring them over your thumb. So, M. And I always like to, for this one to help me out, is I remember with the shape of an M, it almost looks like my fingers have that shape, an M. So we have M. Then N is going to be 2 fingers over your thumb, N. Same thing, looks like an N to me, or a lowercase n. All right, then we have O, O, and then P. P is going to be the same thing as a K, but now you're going to stick it down. P. So get that same position, and then you're just going to have your hand pointing down. Then we have Q. So Q is going to be like we're doing that tiny little motion, but sticking it down. Q. And typically when you're doing the P and the Q, you're not making that motion of like the flipping. I'm being a little dramatic with it, One, because that's how I am as a person. I'm a very dramatic person. Two, being I'm trying to show you what I'm doing and how I'm getting to that position. I feel like it helps. If it doesn't, just smile and nod and we'll move on. So we have our Q. And then R is going to be crossing your two fingers. And then S is going to be, it's going to be the same as an A, but now your thumb goes across your knuckles. S. Okay, let's go back through those. We ended with, what was it? K, okay. So we have L, M, N, O, P, then Q, and then R, S. All right, good. Okay, so now our next one is going to be T. So T is going to be very similar to our M and our N. It's going to be one finger over our thumb. Now, I don't know why I say this one every class because it helped me and I'm going to say it. If it doesn't help you, again, this is one of those, let me hold off. I do this a lot with other sciences. I will try to describe what helps me make that connection to remember it. If that is something that does not apply or help you out, just like let it go in one ear out the other. If it does help, great. I just always like to try to have different like little phrases or things that'll help make that connection. So for T, what I always think with T is it looks like a crooked T. Like it literally looks like here's your line across the letter. Don't know why. It looks more like an X the more I stare at it and I say this, but I still just always see it as this crooked T, and that's how I can remember it's a T. So I do not know why. Don't ask me why. Then we have U. U is going to be two fingers together. Then V. W. And then our X, like a pirate with the X marks the treasure. And then our Y is going to be our thumb and our pinky out. This one I think is very easy to tell because of how it literally goes into a Y. And then Z. Z is going to be your pointer finger and you're going to make the Z motion. Z. This one does not really, this is again sort of similar to the J where it's not too picky if you don't do the Z correctly, which and the zigzag way, either way works, I think. So let's go back through those. We ended with, so R on T. So T, U, V, W, X, Y, and then Z. Good. Okay. So let us go back through. We're going to go with A through Z. I will go slow this first time. And then we'll do it again. And what we'll do with the second time is I'm going to try to say the letter first and have you guys sign it. And then I will sign it afterwards. Sometimes my hands will just kind of catch on and go too fast. Like they'll go ahead before I'm even like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm trying to test them out and help them. So that's why I said I will try my best to make sure I say it before I sign it. Okay, so for this one though, we are going to sign it together. So we'll start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and then Z. Good, 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 good. Okay, awesome. All right.
Quick
So,
question.
mhm.
I've always wondered, does it matter which way you cross your fingers on the R?
I don't think so. I don't know. I always do it. I guess I
I
do it.
always do it that way too, but sometimes I don't remember and I do it the other way. Is it
I feel like, honestly, I will say, I feel like it wouldn't make a big deal, but if you did go around some deaf children and you did it wrong, they may judge you on that. But that's also because they're not afraid to call you out. They'll call you out on anything, even if it's not like necessarily wrong. Oh, they are. Let me just get on my little bit about these lovely children. I love
so
them
they're
to death.
just normal children essentially?
Yes. People think with deaf kids that they are just very quiet and shy. No, no, they are going to voice their opinions. They are brutally honest. And it's a little bit like, okay, back off, please. Like, please don't do this to me in like two different languages. No, thank you. And so, um, but my favorite thing is the fact that like at a deaf school, those kids are so, first off, they're so nosy. Okay. Does not matter like who you are. If you come in and you're new, they're gonna literally go to you, go, who are you? Who are you? What are you doing here? Like they're not shy. They're gonna ask you things. So, and if you do even one thing wrong, I think I accidentally put a letter wrong once on the board, like I was, or number wrong, because I'm a math teacher. And they never let it go for like 3 weeks, guys. Okay. These kids will not forget. So I can just see them. I could see them coming up and purposely signing it wrong just to mess with you after that.
All right, good to know.
Okay. Now, excuse me. Let's go through our A, B, Z, A through Z again. This time I'm going to say it and I'm going to have you guys sign it first. Okay. All right. Do y'all think y'all think y'all good for that? I mean, all y'all been doing them really good, but y'all are very quiet. I'm used to having a lot of chatty classes. And so y'all are very quiet. I think y'all are very like, this is serious. I got to do this. So,
I have a quick question.
yes. Oh, yes.
When you're doing the X, the letter X,
Mhm.
does your thumb go under your fingers or is it over?
I'm resting it almost, it's almost like I have my S, but then my pointer finger comes up. But I feel like if you have it like this,
Your shirt has it inside.
I do. It does. I noticed you called me. I noticed you saw the shirt. If you guys didn't tell, this is a Red Sox shirt and it's all finger spelled. I'm a total nerd about it, guys. Okay. So, but yes, I guess I've always done it this way. And this is what I see most people do, but you can have it inside too. Like I feel like that's one of those similar ones, like the R or the J, where if you had it a different way, it's not gonna be too big of a problem. That's an interesting one. I've never been asked about that one. So that's why I had to stare at my hand for a minute and go, how do I sign that one? But yeah. Okay. Let's see. We're going to do the ABCs. That's right. So first letter A. B. 4 fingers, thumb across. Yeah. C. D. This one, okay, real quick, crazy enough, D and F get flipped so many times. So if you are one of those where you're like, I'm flipping them right now, it's okay. Do not, I promise. I can't tell you why this one happened, but I'm gonna throw Miss Katie under the bus. She did it for like a couple of good, like 2 classes. She would, with confidence, hold up her D and then she'd go, oh, and she would change it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I spelled dad faff several times.
It's a very common thing. I even remember in my ASL classes, that was a common like mistake. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the difference of having one finger up versus the other 3 up. It just gets to people. So like I said, this one, what helps me is I think about the shape of it, I know technically it would look like this to me, but like it looks the shape of a D. That's how I
Well, and this looks like tail feathers. So, like, I don't know why I didn't even think of that in the first place, but whatever.
see. You have to make those
I have
weird.
now.
You gotta make weird connections to keep help it all stick. So we had our D, then E. E, and then F. And then, my gosh, G. Sorry, when we go slow, I lose place in the alphabet. So we have our G, then H, I, J, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, so it's like a K but pointing it down. Yeah. Oh man. Q. I knew I was gonna do it again. Q, R, S. It's gonna be the A but with the thumb across. Yeah. T. U, V, W, X, Y, and then Z. Some of y'all have taken this class, taken an ASL class or two before. I've seen the ABCs. Just saying. I know Drew has. He's been in this class before. Some of y'all, I'm like, y'all are going a letter ahead of me a few times. I'm like, y'all have seen it before. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to a few simple sayings. The first one we're going to do is my name. You are totally fine. No worries. If anyone ever has to leave early or join late, you are totally fine to come and go as you need. Like Miss Katie said earlier, this class is recorded, so you're always welcome to come back and check it out later at a time that works for you. It's a very, I like to say it's a very chill class. We're not like, oh, you're not here every time. No, we get it. We totally get it. Okay, so we're gonna do the first phrase. My name is, and I'm gonna give everyone the heads up now before we have to do it, and y'all are like panicking. I do like to always have everyone take turns signing my name is and then finger spelling your name. Just like I feel like it's that important first sentence to really know to help. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you are not confident with your finger spelling, I will help you. I promise. Like, okay, I'm not expecting everyone to just fluidly like sign everything. No, it's going to be totally fine. I just like to give that little push to practice. Also, if you have a long name or a complicated, like there's a lot of letters in it, you're more than welcome to do a nickname. That is okay too. Okay, we've had people whose names were like, I mean, they were long. They were very long names, and I was like, oh, and she was like, I am not signing all that. And I was like, that's okay. She's like, I'm gonna do my nickname. And I was like, good. So you guys are welcome to do that too. So for my name is, one of the things I do need to explain before it as well is that ASL grammar structure and English grammar structure is different. It's the common belief is that ASL is just English with hands. It's not really. ASL has its own syntax, its own structure, its own way of presenting, multiple different things that are very different from English. So with that being said, one of the big key things is in ASL, you don't typically use those linking verbs as in like, and if I said it wrong, if someone comes after me, I like to always say, I'm not an English teacher, I'm a math teacher. So please don't come at me. I just always like to put that out there. I will flip them sometimes every now and then. but the is and the are and the were really are not, there's not an individual sign for it. What more so happens is it gets embedded in the signing of the sentence as you were saying, like how you sign it as is. So it's not like it got deleted. You just don't have to sign an individual sign for it. So for that being said, what you're going to do for my name is really you're just going to sign my name and then you fingerspell your name. So the first sign we're going to do is my. My is going to be an open hand and you're going to pat your like the center of your chest. My. So, and you don't have to like pat it multiple times. You can even do one time. I just pat it a few times. That's just showing I'm saying my. So my, and then for name, you're going to have two H's, both hands. And you're going to have whichever one you feel comfortable with, left or right, going to tap one on top of the other. Name. So my name. Now, some people will say my name what, but we'll talk about that later with our WH question words. Typically, you can just do my name, especially if they ask you what's your name, you would just say my name, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to do mine real quick, and then I'm going to explain how you do double letters because that's how I was going to tie that in. So I would go my name. Ooh, I gotta go slow. I'm gonna go too fast. Jillian. So with double letters in your name, so like mine with the L's, you have two ways you can do it. You can either slide it across, like you just hold the L and go across, or you can double bounce it. So Jillian, that was very small, like G-I bounce, I-A-N. I typically slide. I don't know what it is, but I do the slide. I'm like, Jillian. Well, I even did it in. I finger spell too fast sometimes, and I will spell my name like that because I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. So if you have a double letter, which I don't think anyone has, wow, that's sweet. Yeah, that's a first. Most of the time there is always one other person because they will catch me and ask me the sign before, ask me how you do it before I can explain it. So this is a first, so none of y'all have to worry about that. Lucky y'all. Okay, so let's do my name again one more time. And then I'm gonna hand it off to take turns finger spelling your names, okay? So my name. And you do want to tap this a few times. So my name, like 2 times. My name. But again, that's not like a strict number. If you do it like 3, 4, whatever, it's not going to change the meaning of it. I just, one time, my name, it can get a little confusing if thinking you're saying call, which call is literally the name, and then you bringing it forward. It can get complicated, so it's better just to tap it when you're saying name. Okay. So, are you guys good for finger spelling signing my name is and then your name, or you're like, please don't do this to me right now? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start at the bottom. I know some of y'all don't have your cameras up. If you don't want to do it and you want to leave, if you can't put up your camera, that's totally fine. So I'm gonna do the people I can see whose camera's on. If you do end up wanting to join to show, that's you can, and I'll come back to you. But again, no pressure to join if you have to, if you don't want to. So my first one, I'm gonna start at the bottom, is Nikisha. Did I say your name right? Or no?
Yes, you did. You said it right.
I'd make it a goal to try to say everyone's names right, but sometimes I will not. So I wanted to check. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so my name, Keisha, Nikisha,
This is I'm sure most of y'all know what this is, but this is basically the ASL version of clapping hands. Is you shake your hands back and forth like this. And so I will do that. I'm sorry, I have to add this funny story. Miss Katie will get a laugh out of this. My sister recently graduated from Auburn in May. Her daughter, her oldest daughter, also recently graduated from Auburn in May. So like, but while I was at my sister's graduation, we're sitting in the stands in the gymnasium. I don't know where it was. Auditorium. I really don't know. And they're like, starting the announcement, talking about it and stuff. And like, they're like, oh, let's give them a big hand. And my first instinct was not to clap. It was to throw my hands in the air and shake them back and forth like this. And my brother was sitting next to me and goes, "What are you doing?" And he slapped one of my hands down. I was like, whoops. It was just such a force of habit. And they also had an interpreter there. So it didn't help that I was already watching someone signing as is.
Okay, Evie had an interpreter, and I annoyed my family by saying all the phrases that I knew. And I'm sure it was more annoying because I didn't know all the phrases, but I knew some of them. And
My
so, like,
sister just graduated from Alabama. I did the exact same thing the whole
yeah,
time.
I saw the engineering and I was like, that means engineering. And everybody was like, shut
Couldn't help
up.
it.
Like, y'all need to know this.
My family's so used to it by now. They were used to me. But like there were times when mom would go, "Hey, do you see the interpreter?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Wonder who it's for." Like, and so she's nosy, okay? She loves to try to find them. And I'm like, "Mom, no, it's okay." And so I'd be watching and then I'd lean over and I go, "Interesting," like way you put it and stuff. And that was it. But my mom and dad and like siblings are so used to me with like signing, it's like not even a thing. But my sister said the minute she did see the interpreter, she told all of her friends sitting in her row, she goes, "Oh my gosh, my sister's probably freaking out." And they were like, "Why?" She goes, "There's an interpreter up there." They had no understanding of like, they're like, "Okay." And she's like, "My sister works for a deaf school. Like she knows sign language." It's like, "Oh." So, but yeah, I'll just never get over the confident putting my hands in the air to shake like this instead of clapping. It was a little embarrassing for my brother. I don't care much, but okay. Off the sidetrack, we'll come back now. So the next person is going to be Drew. So
All right. My name is Drew.
I was gonna be really upset if you didn't get that right. I hope you know that because you've been in
I
this.
would be too. It's one of the few things I keep practicing in between class sections.
All right, perfect. Okay, next person is Nicole.
Hey, my name is Nicole.
Yay! All right. Oh, I love it. Sorry, I'm a total teacher, but I'm also a total nerd. I get giddy about every little thing, so just bear with it, guys. It's gonna be the rest of the classes. So, all right, my next person is Miranda.
Hello, my name.
You've practiced finger spelling before, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
The speech you did, I was like, oh yeah, that's someone who knows her alphabet, which good for you. Okay, next person I have is Susan.
Oh gosh, my palms are sweating.
I promise it's gonna be fine. Don't worry.
My name.
Mhm. Mhm. Bring your hand just a little bit higher. There you go. Mhm. It's just now gonna move your thumb. Yeah, there you go. Mhm. Yes, yay! See, you got it. I promise. It's like one of the trickiest things is when your like signs are so close like that. It's like, am I surely which one's which? It'll get like I get it. So, but y'all did so good. Oh my goodness. Okay. So perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna explain one little thing that's actually really cool. I'm kind of jumping. I don't think we've talked about it. I have my little list. I always like to tell. I have my phone here, and you cannot see it because of the blindness. But I have like Miss Katie's list. I constantly leave it next to me to make sure I don't veer off too much because I will do that. I will veer if I have to. I will find new fun things to talk about. And I need to be like, no, we need to stay on track. But I do want to talk about this real quick because it probably will end up coming up some point, and I want to get it. I want to talk about it now before I forget. So there is something that is called a sign name. And if you guys have not heard it before, what it is when you are talking to a deaf person and you're having a conversation with them, and I'm talking about a different person I know or something like that, I'm not going to constantly finger spell their names over and over and over again. So like at my school, my students, when they're calling me or they're trying to get my attention, they're not going to finger spell my name over and over and over again. They're going to use what's called a sign name. And so a sign name is a sign that's specifically designated for a person. And what's really cool about it is you can only get one from a deaf person. Excuse me. And with it, it's very much based off of personalities. And so what happens is when a deaf person gives you a sign name, they're typically want to get to know you if you like while more like for a bit. They're not going to be just like, oh, we've just met, I'm going to give you a sign name. No, well, they'll talk with you some more, get to know you more, and then they're going to assign you a sign name. So mine is going to be a G, and then you put it on the top of your cheek, Jillian. And so what's really cool is with mine, the reason I have my sign name from this is because my cheeks typically get really red when I talk to people, like anyone. They're already red now. It's just how I am. And so when I was talking to a group, I was doing a volunteer group with my high school, and we were working with deaf people while also doing cooking, culinary thing. It's a whole thing. But so I spent the whole day there, and we worked, and I got to meet some of them. It was very nice. And one of them asked me, do you have a sign name? And I was like, mm-mm. And he's like, well, I'm gonna give it to you. It's this one. And I was like, thank you. And he told me why. And I was like, so honored. But it's for my red cheeks. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Funnily enough, most of the time they typically tend to be more, I have a lot of coworkers whose names are going to be right here, their letters like right here, whatnot. And that's because they're kind-hearted. Or they'll have one at the corner of the mouth like this because they smile all the time. It's very sweet stuff. So after I started meeting others and realized, oh, their sign names are all like this, I'm like, mine's because of red cheeks. Okay. I mean, it is very much different. And it's like, I don't know a lot of other people who have the sign name right up here. But yeah, so it's very cool. And so if you do end up talking with a deaf person, and if they ask you about a sign name, again, like I said, first off, you can't assign yourself one, and you can't have a hearing person assign you one. It's really important to have a deaf person assign you one. I keep wanting to say the deaf community, but it doesn't have to be the whole group. It could be just one person. But it's always a really cool thing. So if you guys end up talking with more deaf people and then you end up getting a sign name, please tell me. I just think it's so cool. And I love to hear how people earn their sign names. It's really cool. So I just like to add that in case, like, if you do go talking to a deaf person, like after this class and you finger spelled stuff, if they did ask you sign name, and the sign for sign name is, you're going to go sign, which is like 2 pointer fingers, and you go in a circle, sign name. If they said sign name, you can tell them, like, shake your head, don't have one yet, that sort of thing. I feel like that's always a question that can come up a little early. So I wanted to put that there. Okay. So what the next one we're going to do is we're going to do the sign for I am learning ASL. Okay. So the way we sign this, like I said, in ASL, the grammar structure is different from English. With that, you're not going to sign the word am, and you're also not going to sign that ing. So with that being said, how you're going to actually sign I am learning ASL is you're going to go me learn ASL. Okay, that's how the structure is kind of based. Me and I are going to be pretty much the same sign. That's just something that you don't ever have to differentiate between me and I for that. Okay. I'm trying not to overwhelm you guys, but I'm also like, I want to say everything. So we can always come back to this later if it's like, this is too much now. We can go through it now, and then next class or whatnot, we can review and explain it again. So for I am learning ASL, you're going to go me. Me is you're going to have your pointer finger and point to yourself, me. Learn is going to be your non-dominant hand is palm up. Dominant hand's going to kind of rest on top, and you're going to go up to your forehead. And it's like the meaning behind it is like, this is like a book and knowledge, and you're pulling it to your brain. So you're learning it. That's the actual meaning behind it. Learn. So me, learn. And then for American Sign Language, what's really great is it's just ASL. ASL. So me, learn, ASL. I'm sorry, I know I did that fast. Me, learn, ASL. So that's how you would say I am learning ASL. Okay. You can also say me learn sign. That is if you just didn't want to do ASL and you did sign, you can still do sign too. That was another sentence. That's why I was going to bring it.
Can you show us fingerspell now as well?
So I'm glad you asked that, because actually I don't think it's on here. There is, so the sign for finger spelling is basically you wiggle your fingers in a circular motion, finger spelling. And that's which I'm trying to, again, I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm trying not to. Miss Katie, if you have to rein me in, please let me know. So finger spelling, one of the things you can do that's really cool is with learning the alphabet. If you had to, if there was a situation where you did come across a deaf person and you needed to like get something across, you could actually have a conversation in sign language, but by using finger spelling. Meaning you can finger spell just the words itself. Instead of signing the words, you could finger spell. And that is something that's, I think, is always what makes ASL. I always love about ASL that makes it stand out from all the other languages is that if you forget a word in Spanish or French, you can't really just start to sound out the letters of the word in French or Spanish. It doesn't really translate through like that. But in ASL, you can finger spell a word if you forget the sign. So let's say you're talking to someone and you're trying to say, I'm learning ASL, and you forget the sign for learn. You can finger spell Learn, learn. You can do that. And most of the time, what will happen is the deaf person, most of the time, is not going to judge you. I have to say most because, there's always going to be not nice people and judgy people. But most of the time, they're not going to judge you. And there's a good chance they're going to actually help you remember and sign the word for you. And so don't ever feel bad if you end up being like, I forgot the word. You still can have a conversation. I remember when I was learning ASL in the very beginning, when I was a junior in high school, and my friends and I that were in the class, we wanted to practice signing. We wanted to, we really wanted to be strong with it. We didn't know all the signs. And we would finger spell all the time. I mean, there were sentences we would have that be literally like saying, I am so bored right now. Like, I mean, I finger spelled every word in that sentence in like our other classes. It's a very common thing if you have, like, it's not a big deal if you have to do that. So I always like to say that is something that if you like forget a word, finger spelling is a great support, and it's not even really support. It's a great assistance to help you get to your sign. So yeah, let's see. I'm going to try to slow down on some of our sentences. I know we have a lot of different words. I'm going to do a few more, and then I'm going to like stop and we'll go back through them because I'm trying not to overwhelm.
Hey, Jillian, I was gonna say too, all the phrases that we have, if we don't get through them, we can do them after you come back from out of town. I guess that would be the 4th lesson. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I am gonna I'm gonna do a few more though that I do think are important to know. The first one is gonna be please. So for please, it's gonna be an open hand, and instead of like patting, you're gonna go in a circular motion. Please, please, please. Then we're gonna have repeat. This is also the sign for again. So this one is always helpful when if you are talking to someone and they sign something that you missed, you can ask them to please repeat. So repeat is going to be non-dominant is sideways. Dominant's kind of bent, and you're going to go again. Again. Excuse me. Again. So you can, if someone signed something and you missed it and you're like, I don't know what you said, you can go please, again, please, again. I feel like that's an important one to have to learn, especially in the beginning. The next one is please slow down. So you would go please, and then slow down is going to be your non-dominant. It's like the back of your hand, and your dominant is going to go across it slowly. So like, please slow down. I bring it closer. You can go all the way across your arm. I get a little, I guess, lazy with it where I go small across my hand, but you could go all the way across. And you want to make sure you don't go fast because that's going to be very confusing. Like, please slow down. Okay. So let's do yes and no, and then we'll review those few and then the few I said before. Okay. So the sign for yes is going to be an S, and you're going to bounce it up and down. I think about nodding your head. Yes. Then we have no. No is going to be kind of like this 3-fingered shape, and you're going to pinch them together. So your 2 fingers are going to come on top of your thumb. No, no, no. No.
I love to do that to my kids when they say things that make me mad, and I'll go like I'm yanking the words out of their mouth.
Oh yeah. Well, seeing this constantly like going back and forth like this, that also it's like it's funny because there's like this one little kid who whenever like when she get mad, she'd go, no, no, and she'd shake her head back and forth, but it's this. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's just as much as like hearing no, no, no repeatedly in your head. It's just seeing this motion over and over again. It's like, okay, hold on, take a breather. So no. And you can shake your head with this. It's just kind of, let your facial expressions show when you're like, no, no. Like Miss Katie said, whenever she tells her kids no, I can already see her face go, no. Like a little proud face with it. No. Okay. Let's now go back through what we had. So we had please, please. Then we had please repeat or again. So please repeat. Then we had please slow down. Please slow. Then we had yes, yes, and no. Then we had finger spell. So finger spell, which is literally just wiggling your fingers on that circular motion. And then we had sign, which was sign. Then let's go back kind of our past of these. I am learning sign. So me learn. ASL. Sorry, I realized I said I am learning sign, but I meant I'm learning ASL. ASL. And then my name is my name. Okay. So let's see. We have about 8 more minutes. What I'm going to do now is I know I'm going to do it. I feel like this class has been a lot of talking. I'm going to kind of keep on that for a minute as I don't want to throw too many signs. I have one more thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to leave it open for you guys if you have any questions or anything like that. Okay. So I did want to explain what's interesting is there's not only one sign language in that sense. ASL, that is one of like 3 different ways you can sign language. ASL is the more common one that is used, but there are 2 others. I'm going to talk about this one more, and this one I'm going to mention, but we're not really going to discuss in depth about. So this one we have ASL, American Sign Language. Then we have what's called Signing Exact English. And then this last one is called Pigeon Signing. This is where you do that more. It's more that finger spelling kind of setup. Very similar. There are a couple differences. Not very commonly used. So this one's not the biggest deal. I just always like to mention it so it's like kind of in the back of your mind. Oh, there are different ways. But I do want to talk about these 2: Signing Exact English, which is C, and then ASL. So signing exact English is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically what we always have that misconception about ASL is that, oh, it's English but for hands. That's what kind of C is, that signing exact English. So with signing exact English, you are going to follow English grammar structure, but with signing this time. And sometimes this is where you can see people doing there is like, and this is why when I said earlier about when I didn't say there wasn't necessarily a sign for it, you're just not going to individually sign it. Because in C, you would use the sign for which is it's like your eye, it goes up your thumb, like across your chin. Not commonly always like used. It can be used sometimes. So I do like to kind of just express that is. So while yes, it does have a sign, it's not typically used with ASL. So signing exact English, if I was going to be saying my name is in C, I would do my name is Gillian. If I was going to say like I am learning ASL, I would go I am learning ASL. It's like you have to finger spell all the little parts. And so it's very different. ASL, like I said, it has its own structure, its own way, whereas signing exact English is that English. I always like to bring that up because we will talk about that a little bit here and there on things, especially with how you would sign sentences. Because right now with me learning ASL or my name is, the only difference is an ing. But in other sentences, when we get later on with different words, it does actually make a difference. And I like to just kind of express it now. So, but yeah, do any of you guys have questions as of right now? I'm gonna pull up my chat next to me so I can see it better. Oh, not that big.
So you explained this last class session, but maybe since I see you doing it now, like, and I just kind of take it for granted, but can you kind of explain how you are listing things on your hand and how that works? Like when you're doing your different
Oh,
fingers?
listing. I heard
Yeah.
listening. Sorry, I was
Oh,
like, listening on my hands. What? Listing. Yes. Okay. So in ASL, the way you list things is you basically it's like I visualize this being like an actual like check sheet. So if you notice when I was talking about there are 3 different ways, we are going to do numbers next week. So if you don't know your numbers, that's totally fine. But this is the sign, really, this is the sign for 3. You typically are going to turn your hand sideways, and this is your first, second, and third. So you go down like it's numbers, like you're listing things. And it's really important to know, like when you list something, if you assign something to that spot, it stays. So like when I had the 3 and then I took away pigeon, I had these 2 left. The reason I did this instead of going to 2 was because I've already assigned these places. I had assigned this one as ASL, and I had assigned this one as signing exact English, C. And if you notice, every time I went back, I would try to make sure I'm following where I said everything is. And that's kind of an helpful in how to keep up with where you're listing stuff. So like I said, if you do assign something to one of your fingers, you really have to keep it there. It's really important. We do more in depth with this with like family signs when we're talking about our different families, because some families that are big will have like a long list. Like, I mean, my family's not big, but there's 5 of us. And I typically assign myself right here because that's I go in age order. You don't have to. You can go whatever order you want, but I always assign myself here, meaning my siblings are here, my parents are here. So if I'm ever talking about them and I'm trying to talk about the list of like, well, my sister went with my mom, my blah, 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 I'm not going to do just picking one number of fingers. I'm going to follow which I said. So it's really important. Listing is very helpful, especially for someone like me who can lose track of where we're at. I can look at my hand a little bit better and remember where I put things. But yeah, this is kind of how you do listing. It's really interesting. And like I said, when we do families, it'll make more sense, if that makes sense. But yeah. Any other questions you guys have? I'm gonna take a water break, guys. I let y'all think.
I have a question.
Mhm.
When it comes to when you're signing like people, so like me, my, you, yours, them, they, I think my question is mainly on like me or my. Is it okay to switch, or like if you forget, because that would be me, if you forget and you say like you or like my, and switch the terms from or the signs for like, because this is my or me, right?
Mhm.
If I'm saying it myself, like my name, if I did my
Me
name,
name. Yeah.
is
That
that okay?
Yes. So that's not, thankfully, with when it comes to like talking about me, myself, mine, things like that, it's very where they have their own signs. It's not going to be like the end of the world if you did end up saying me name, because they know that you're talking about yourself. They know, oh, you're talking about you and you're talking about your name. Then what probably would end up happening, excuse me, is they're going to probably go gently correct you, or remind you, but it's never going to be like, oh my gosh, that was so wrong. I can't believe she signed this wrong. Oh, I'm never talking to her again. No, 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 no. they're gonna still very nicely, most of the time, go on with the conversation like, oh yeah, me, name. It's very easy to sometimes flip signs, especially when you're learning. And so a lot of times when talking to a deaf person, a lot of times they're just very happy to know that you're actually trying to learn to communicate with them. So they're appreciative and they're not going to always be just this judgy looking down at your signs is not perfect. Because it's, I mean, really no one sign is perfect. I know people who grew up, they've signed all their life and they will still have a mishap here or there and things like that. I mean, I will sign things. I will, my finger spelling can be a little bit of a hot mess. But that's because I talk as fast, I sign as fast as I talk. So y'all probably can hear how fast I'm talking. And you can imagine when you're trying to fingerspell a very long word, my fingers like to jump 3 or 4 letters ahead of the time. And I have to literally hold my hand to be like, you need to slow down. So pointing to yourself, not like pointing to yourself instead of saying my, that's not going to be a big deal. There are a few signs later on that maybe kind of might get a little confusing, but I always like to say that's where finger spelling kind of comes in to help. So I know that was a very long-winded explanation for just saying me and my, but yeah. Any other questions? Oh wait, it's 6:30. Well, any other questions? Okay. So for our next class, we are going to do numbers and we'll go through a few of the other things we didn't get to tonight. And then we will also next week, we will practice our ABCs because I realized we didn't do it. We typically will do a practice where I will fingerspell things and you guys have to like read it and then type out the words or say them. We didn't get to tonight, so we're going to do that next week as well. We'll do that with letters and numbers. Okay.
I've also got a quiz that I'll send out later this week that is finger spelling where you can kind of check yourself before our next class and the answers. I'll send along the answers too. So you can check that independently. And then the third class that we have, I forget the actual date, but Gillian is going to be out of town.
18th.
So,
June. Yeah.
18th?
18th.
18th.
Mhm.
That class will be a review. We'll do some in-person quizzes with letters and numbers and the phrases we've learned. And then when Jillian gets back the next week, we'll move on to things like our WH question words and places and occupations and all that good stuff. So if it does feel like it's a really fast-paced class, we will get a chance to kind of slow down the third week and review some more. So,
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's a very content-heavy class. I know. But I think I always like to think if I give you a huge list of vocabulary that like you have saved and you can go back and check it again and again, that also can be helpful with your individual practicing. And I was going to add one more quick thing and then I was going to let you guys go. I always recommend if you want to really practice your finger spelling and get more used to finger spelling word, like have that motion. I know if you probably noticed when I finger spell Jillian, I'm not doing G-I, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm doing a smooth motion. It's very fluid. It's with a lot of practice. So I typically always recommend what's a really good helps with memorizing your ABCs, but also how to put letters next to each other and get used to that movement is when you're out and about, if you see words like on signs as you're walking or driving through, not when you're driving, but someone else is driving, practice finger spelling the words. I like to always make it a little competition for myself when I'm in the car and like my parents are driving or whatnot, and I see a billboard, I try to see how fast I can fingerspell a word before the billboard passes us. And while your hands, you're probably gonna be like, oh my gosh, that was insane. Start small, but it actually does help. I get very fluid with that now. I literally think that was the reason why my hands can just go like very smooth with my finger spelling now. So I always like to recommend that. Also, if you like see different things about like, I mean, I'll look at like, I'll just sit around and go, okay, phone. How would I fingerspell phone? P-H-O-N. Like I do that kind of thing. Really helps and really practices, gets your practicing skills, building it, whatever. I cannot talk right now. Sorry. But yeah. So just a little little recommendation.
So tomorrow I will upload this video to YouTube and send you the link, and I'll send you an updated worksheet with some of the things that we added. Also on our YouTube channel, we've got some videos that we've saved, and I try to remember to share those with y'all just because the channel's gotten big now. But one of the things I'll send along with our recap is the ABC stories, and those are stories where we've got someone who is deaf, who is telling a story, and they're using the letters of the alphabet to help tell the story. And I'll send that along. They're really short, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the most. But what's kind of fun about that is you can watch them tell this fun story and try to pick out the letters that they're using to help them tell the story. And you'll see what I mean when you watch the video. So
It's really
be on the lookout for that. And I think that's it, unless y'all have questions. So
no, I think we've overwhelmed them enough for one class. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
bye, everybody. All right, Miss Gillian. Let me tell you what I did today. I went through our entire syllabus, like all of this. And I pulled out some stuff that was in funky places
Mhm.
and rearranged it. So it wasn't too much rearranging. I do realize that I put a ton of new phrases on our first, but I thought, if we can cover those in the first 3 weeks, and then we could just repeat them throughout the class.
Well,
and
I agree. And that's why I know I started throwing a lot, but I was like, no, because I looked at it, I was like, those are really important to know, especially because I think it's really important for them to know already. Please slow down, please repeat, yes, no. Because, as we go through this class, there may be times where I've gone fast, or they'll be like,
yeah,
and I've seen, because they've done it before, they'll be like, okay, like they'll do so
yeah.
stuff. Again, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, or yes, no, things like that. So I do think that is a good. I was seeing it and I was like, no, those are like really important, like first beginning classes to know for sure, which is why I was like, I'm gonna go through them. But
Okay.
yeah.
And then I thought, along with the review next week, as we get started in the numbers, what I ended up doing was combining our second and third classes into one big worksheet.
Mhm.
And it just says classes 2 and 3, numbers and time, so that they back up to each other. I didn't add anything to it though. Oh no, wait, I did. When we did banking, I
Mhm.
added money and then a credit card. I don't know if there must be a sign for a credit card. Yeah, okay. What we all think of. I think I added those two maybe, because we already had dollars and cents, but I added money and credit card from our woman that wanted to do banking. And also I added how much, even before we do the WH question words, just
Mhm.
because,
That comes with
um,
a lot too. That kind of stuff, like how much, like money, how much.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that was the only thing I added there. I did move, we had some miscellaneous time signs that were like with people. So I moved age, old, and see you later to like the miscellaneous numbers and time section.
Yeah.
So it's really not too different. And then I stopped numbering the classes. Like I got to class 4 when you would be back, and I did WH question words, places, and then I did days of the week and months of the year.
Mhm.
Because with WH question words, we can do things like, where is the bathroom? When is the meeting? Who are you?
Mhm.
And
What
then
day?
the weather signs, I say holidays. I didn't do holidays. I did seasons. So I did the 4 seasons,
Mhm.
the months, and the days of the week, because those aren't as, I don't think those are as difficult because,
I mean, the months
they're,
are all just finger spelling their first 3 letters, and like
yeah.
after already knowing from learning the ABCs, it's kind of at a point where it's like, okay, you know how to do that then.
Yeah, and I 100% think this group is well ahead of us. Like they did not seem to be batting an eyelash. Now we do have there's a woman named Diane Fitzgerald. She's the one who has the stepdaughter she wanted to surprise. I don't know where she was because she emailed me yesterday and said, "Oh, I'm excited about this." And then there are 3. I got an email while we were in class. They're out of town and they did not have a good internet connection. So, and then there are 2 who are graduating from police academy. So there are definitely 5 that'll be here next week that weren't here today, possibly 6. And really, I only had like 20 people registered. So that pretty much gets us, to the full class. Let's see. Okay, for the back end of the class,
Mhm.
I did not number. So we have a section of animal signs that I put all together, which has not really changed.
Mm-mm.
Then, okay, here's what I did because I think it makes sense. And it looks like not too overwhelming, is that I put signs for family members, occupations, and people together. So
Okay.
I've got our family signs like, well, I did boy, girl, man, woman, and then family, mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, son, daughter, twins.
Mhm.
And then we've got our occupations, which, and we don't have to do all of the, like the last class, we did like 5 different types of engineers, like some of it is stuff that, you can show them, but they don't, no, it's not like you need to memorize it.
It's
And then I've
fine.
got phrases. What do you do like for a living?
Mhm.
What are you doing? Which is when you told us what you would sign if you were like the teacher saying like, what are you doing? But not like, what's your job?
Right. Mhm.
And then I've got, what is your job title? Like your job title, what?
Mhm.
And then I've got, because I thought these were signs that would go with occupations. I'm working, I am lost, I need help.
No, those are good ones to actually put there because like that is very much in the work field. If you're like,
Yeah, because we've got nurses and doctors and police and fire and librarians and teachers. So that goes with that. And then sports and food I put together, which I think we did last time.
I think we did because there's not, I mean, there's only so many sports that you can do.
Yeah.
And food's kind of the same way. You get to a certain point where food's kind of all the same.
Yeah. Okay. And I took the opportunity at that point to add in some of the phrases that had kind of littered our class in different, where maybe our students had asked. And so it was in my worksheet, in my vocabulary summary that I sent out, but it didn't quite fit there. So I put I want, I don't want in with the food because and I've got what is your favorite, more, less, I can, I can't, I want, I don't want, I like, I do not like, I need,
Yeah.
I don't need, and allergic.
Oh my gosh. Have we done allergic?
No, that's the only one we haven't done. And I figured too, for all of the knots, they can learn, like,
The minute they
you
learn
know,
not, they're good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then that leaves us at the end with, locations, places, emotions, and personality traits. And some of the locations, even though it looks like a lot, some of these we don't have to do because it's like Starbucks, Walmart, Target, McDonald's, Burger King,
Oh, yeah. That's when I was getting a little excited because we went through our class so fast. I was like, hey, you want to see more Starbucks? And yeah, I was adding
Yeah,
all.
exactly. Yeah. But at least we've got it. I feel like now it makes more sense. And I feel like what I was trying to do is put more phrases in each
Mhm.
lesson so that there was something that tied the signs we learned.
Together.
Yeah, and make it like, how do you make this into a sentence, or how do you communicate with
No,
this?
that's really good because like that's something for sure, we go through, I mean, that's why, so I always liked having like the my name is with our ABCs because with
Yeah,
that, you need to have that which the sentence for. But yeah, I realized, yeah, I've never thought about like when we do our food and all that, it's not saying like, and we don't add what you want, don't like. We don't add those with
yeah.
those.
Well, we
So
did that last time, and so
yeah.
that's why I thought, oh, wait a minute, let me find the other things that are like this and mush them together. So when I get to work tomorrow, I'll send you the updated versions of the worksheets, and I've put on all of them in red, updated and the date. And I can either email them to you, or I don't mind printing them out and just mailing them to you, like whatever's easier. What do
Mhm.
you prefer?
If you email them to me, that would be perfect because then I can print them out. Then that way, if like for some reason, because since it is summertime, I'm now kind of like there may be a day where or maybe a week where I'm at my parents' house and stuff, and that
Yeah.
way, having it on my phone, I can access it from there as well.
Okay. Yeah. I'll email them to you tomorrow. And I think that's it. Like I thought that I would end up with too much content, but I don't think
I
so.
think so. I think, and I feel like half the reason too we didn't get through all of like honestly, I feel like we really could have gone through all this stuff if it wasn't for I'm always trying to be like I don't want to overwhelm these people in the first class. Like they need to know, especially because I always like to check in and say I know I'm a lot. I'm a very
No, you're
out
not.
there person. I'm very bubbly. I'm a very bubbly, very talkative person.
Yes.
If you're not expecting that as a teacher, I can just see people like, what in the world? So I'm always just like, you gotta learn me first. You gotta learn who I
Yeah.
am. And then
But
I can get a little crazy.
100, like we have definitely had classes where you could see people were struggling, but that was not this class. So that made
No.
me feel a little bit better about the way I rearranged it because this rearrangement reflects our content heavy situation.
Yes.
But it gives us room to take stuff out if there are definitely phrases or signs that we could be like, we're going to skip this and cover the important stuff if people get confused or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I think so. And like, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm kind of laughing to myself about how long it's taken us to literally like for you to do that, and I'm like, how long has it taken us to not ever like at least for me to not make a connection of maybe we should have phrases mixed in with our signs, like in the sense of like each class, that way they're connected. Like it's haunting me now that I'm like sitting here thinking about food and we've never mentioned if you like or don't like food. I'm like,
No, we did that last time. We did that last
last
time.
time
I know we did.
and it went so
What I think it
well.
is, we've always had full classes and we've just been constantly, it is a lot of content. So it's a lot to wrangle,
Oh
it's,
yeah.
and plus you're there and I'm here and yeah.
And I'm always trying to not throw, but give them as many signs because I always, because like that's always something that I think is nice is having that, like having it recorded. It's like their own personal
Oh my
library.
gosh, I just realized I'm recording this.